Hey Laura, I've got some good news and some bad news.
Oh no, Luke. Hit me with the bad news first.
Well, 41% of employees plan to leave their jobs this year, according to a Mercer survey.
Oof, that is rough. What's the good news?
Well, good news is that companies with an engaged workforce are 21% more profitable. And companies that lead in customer experience have 60% more engaged employees, according to a State of the American Workforce Gallup study.
Wow. It's funny because it kind of makes sense. Because, when people are engaged, they're more productive, they're motivated, and they'll even stick around. They'll stay with the company.
Yeah, that's what Centrical's all about. They're on a mission to help companies worldwide create a culture of engagement where employees can continuously learn, develop, and in turn grow and thrive.
Hey, Luke, you know what happens when people thrive? The business thrives.
So where can we find out a little bit more about this? Personally, I'd go to www.centrical.com to learn more.
This is Boost,
This is Boost.
helping leaders like you elevate employee experience and performance. Luke, how are you?
Good. How are you, Laura?
I'm good. I've missed you.
Yes, same. Same. It is not a week if it doesn't have some Boost in it, and it's been a while.
Absolutely not. How long has it been since we wrapped the first season?
I don't know. It feels like a lifetime ago, but that's why we're back, right? We're going to do the best bits.
Yeah, and since the end of the first season, I went on my own mini Timbuzza style travel work from anywhere saga. So he
Yes,
totally
we need to
inspired
find out
me.
all about that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, and he made it into my top 2 takeaways of the
Did
first
he?
season of Boost. He did. There's a little spoiler for you.
So tell us about your trip.
Luke, since the end of the first season of Boost, I went on my own 6-week work from anywhere, travel, balance, all this stuff, Tim style. So, he totally inspired me.
What was the highlight?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, the food. That's always the highlight for me, food and sights. But I did truly think about Tim during it and just, this making the space for work, but then making space for yourself. So I really did bring Boost onto my trip with me.
Very good. You've been listening to a few episodes, as have I, gone back and boosting our ratings by listening to our own podcast. So we've got some
Oh
best
yeah, that's why
bits.
I just put it on repeat before I go to sleep. That's the
Yeah, nice. 2.5 speed.
There you
Just to get
go.
those
Lulls
dulcet
you right
tones.
off.
Yeah. Nice. So I thought what we could also talk about a little bit is about some of the making of Boost this season. So it was a lot of fun, but it was our first podcast, and there were some hiccups.
Yeah, what are you ever referring to, Luke?
Oh, sorry, no, it's always seamless. We are true professionals. Nothing
Come
ever goes wrong.
on.
Nothing ever goes wrong.
This is definitely not my first time speaking into a microphone.
Oh, right, yeah, it might be for me. No, I was thinking about back to one of the episodes that I thought was really good from a content perspective, and that resonated with me with Dennis Wakabayashi. And I don't know if you remember that podcast.
How could I ever forget? I honestly was just trying to understand what was going on because the internet was so bad.
So bad. So to our listeners, we're going to take you behind the curtain here. Dennis's episode was actually our very first episode that we recorded. Although it wasn't the first to go in the season, it was our very first episode that we'd ever recorded. And unfortunately, Dennis was traveling and his internet was sketchy as, and was just dropping out. We were not getting his full response. And so Laura and I kind of staring and hoping that what he said was insightful, and then we would ask our next question, and the team did an amazing job editing that. So
Oh
that
my
it sounds
gosh. Wow, that was truly amazing. I think my biggest behind the scenes thing was I was so grateful it was not a video episode because I was just sweating bullets.
Oh,
I was like,
I was
what's going
panicked.
on? This is my first time. I don't know what to do.
I was so
But
panicked
you're
too.
right. The editors were amazing. Dennis was amazing. Just
Yes,
powering on.
well, I don't think he even realized some of the time that we couldn't hear him. So,
Nope. Dennis, I'm sorry if you're listening now.
so we
We
just powered through, and that's the great thing about the software we use is that it records locally to your PC, and then you get all the audio later, and you patch it all together, and it came out really well. I thought it came out really nice, so I was quite amazed. So I thought we could dive in and talk about my favorite clip from Dennis's segment. What do you think?
let's do it. I want to hear your top takeaway.
So, Dennis really struck a chord with me. It was this whole idea of storytelling. And, he mentions that there's like 85% of content on the internet is user generated, just like this. But so much of it just goes to waste. It just ends up in the ethos because it doesn't do one thing, which is around storytelling. And I think Dennis says it best. So why don't we dive in and have a listen to that clip?
Introducing Dennis Wakabayashi.
Your feed is amazing, and the content you're putting out at the moment is so good. One of the things I saw on some of that content, you've got this new hashtag, or I don't know if it's yours, but edutainment. So when talking about the expo, so what's the value of edutainment for organizations today, and how can it be applied to both customer and employee experience?
When I teach at the universities, I often try to drive home this idea of producing content on the internet that gets results. So we see 85% of content is user generated, and it generally doesn't convert or apply to a larger business practice of scaling. And what I try to tell the students is focus your energy on either education, which is content that provides value for listeners or readers that they may not have prior. And then there's entertainment content, which is about the emotional energy. And the reason I separate these two things, predominantly for business executives and students, is because when you mix education and entertainment content, you often get either spectacular results or you get cancel culture. So we try not to educate and evoke emotion when we're talking about a lot of things on the internet because it's volatile. Well, edutainment, when done well, and it takes a lot of thoughtful understanding about your customers or the audience, their behavior, their needs, and Expo really nailed the edutainment piece of it. In large part because, first of all, they were well-funded. Second of all, they had a thoughtful plan, and they did a ton of behavioral analysis. There was a woman there named Ala who did extensive human behavior research prior to the expo that gave all of her teammates insights around how to put together experiences that both taught us about the past, present, and future, but really spoke to our hearts and our minds and culture. That's edutainment.
All right, Luke, that is an A+ clip. The thing that I really like there is, it's not just about educating, but about bringing out emotions into things.
Yeah.
That's what
that
connects
resonated
to
with me.
people.
Yeah, totally true.
Oh, and it's like when people feel, that's what they'll remember. And
That's
that's
it.
how they'll learn.
That's it. Yeah, we need to tell some more stories. Speaking of stories, you told us a little bit about your trip.
Yes. And so let me bring you to one of my top takeaways from this season from Tim's episode. Here's the clip.
One of the things you talk about a lot is this idea of creating space. And it's not just creating space outside of work or creating space. It's about creating presence. So even right now, we're sitting in a virtual environment. We're in 3 different countries, but we've created this space.
There's some fascinating research, and I forget the name of the person who did the work, but it came from providing care to people at end of life and the importance of creating space for people to have that experience. So when you think most people will have lost somebody in their life. And the space that we create around a person at that critical moment of transition is something that naturally people put a lot of thought and effort into. It's calming, peaceful, and that's pretty extreme, but it's often in the extremes where we sort of find insight. And getting back to the journey and what I'm doing is sort of about sort of pushing myself to my extremes to find insight. And when it comes to work, it's something similar. Like, we unconsciously create space in our lives for the work that we're doing, but there's a very powerful opportunity to make that conscious. And when we make that conscious, it's a new skill, this ability to kind of define the space that we're working within so that it supports the outcomes, the people, and the experience that we want to create. And when it was the physical office, we outsourced that responsibility to the property team and other people who had those roles, which was to create the physical spaces that supported work. In the last decade or so, the physical spaces in the office evolved significantly, where we saw modern offices start to move from just having floors filled with cubicles to suddenly we had varieties of meeting spaces created, sit-down areas. Some workplaces even introduced sleep pods. And there was quite an evolution over the last decade or so of the physical office in recognition that we need different spaces to support different types of work. But not many employers went into that. And so the virtual environment is exactly the same. We need to create spaces that support different types of work, but the responsibility actually is on us individually to do that. It's not outsourced anymore. It's not the tech team or the property team's job to do that. We all have to do that. And if we just step into work in the virtual world unconsciously and just allow everything to be a Zoom environment, then we've effectively gone back to the cubicles of the old physical office, and we've devolved our workspaces.
It's just a virtual square versus a physical square.
Yeah,
exactly.
Wow. Exactly. So on the journey, particularly in this last sort of part of our journey driving around India, I've really kind of reflected on that for myself personally, is that the types of spaces that I'm creating for myself for work. Because every time I land in a new place, which is every 3 to 5 days, we kind of move on, I have to consciously create the workspaces again. And my thoughts on that are that there are 3 different types of work that I do. And I'm sure it's different for other people as well. But the 3 different types of work that I do are creative work, collaborative work, so the sorts of things we're doing right now, and concentration work. And so each of those types of work requires something a bit different for me personally, for me to be at my best. So now the first thing I do is I have my work bag when I arrive in a new place. Is I set up my office, if you like. I pull out, and that's something I get out of the way, check the internet, get it all done so it's peace of mind and I can go and enjoy the experience of the location. But for concentration and concentrative work, I find that if I can find a space where I'm really connected with nature, then that seems to help me focus. And the last is collaborative. And collaborative, we need somewhere where it's quiet, where I can be present with the people that I'm engaging with, where I don't have lots of distractions. I've had a few meetings where I've been outside doing the concentrative work and the birds are in the background, and then I dial into a Zoom or an environment like this, and then the birds are chirping and it starts to distract everybody else. So I have to come back to my room and log in here. That variety does support better outcomes, and just making it conscious has been the key for me.
I'm so stoked, Laura, that you chose an Aussie. Top 2.
I'm pandering. I couldn't
That's
quite
okay.
perfect my accent by the end, but I can choose the Aussies for my takeaways.
No, really good. Really good. My favorite part is still around creating those spaces. This idea of setting up space and getting yourself not just physically, but also mentally prepared for that space. I just think that's a lesson that I've taken from Tim and that episode, and I'm going to keep trying to work on that for sure.
Totally. And it's like taking ownership of your choice of what you want to put into your work and how much space, you want different things to consume of your life.
Yes. Yeah. I was actually talking about this with a friend yesterday. I've seen his PS5 in the background and I'm like, oh, wow. Like, you've got one of them because, I'm a dad of 3 and I just don't have time. I'd love a PS5. I just don't have time to play. And we talked about how, like, in those moments where you have your own space and what you're going to choose to do, what is it you want to do? And for me, it's not investing time in a video game. It's playing guitar. Like, for me, I want to do that and making those conscious choices of what you want to fill that time with. So, yeah.
Totally.
Beautiful.
Wow. I felt that so much with this marathon training where I'm just like, oh gosh, the amount of time that I need to put into this and just making the tough choices sometimes to say,
Not
I'm going
going
to
to the aquariums.
forgo not going to the aquarium in Atlanta. I'm sorry, Atlanta. I'll see you next time. But
Yeah.
I had to run.
Well, let's talk next about our next clip. Now, I totally fanboyed over this person.
Oh, I know already who it
Yeah.
is. And I
It's
knew
gotta
she would make it into your list.
Well, she has to, man.
Oh, you're blushing.
Annette Franz is so cool. I just love her stuff, man. I love all the books she's put out, all of the blogs. Like, she just does great content. And I feel like we're kindred spirits in what we are really passionate about, which is employee experience. This is another episode where there was some audio hiccups. If you remember, Annette's
Yeah.
computer sounded
Wow.
like it was about to take off.
I feel like I tried to black all of this out, but you're right. These are all just ones, I'm sweating over here, but it did sound like it was about to, take off like a rocket ship or a washing machine. I don't know which one.
But through the power of technology, we just like cleaned that audio right up and it sounded pretty good. Again,
Amazing.
So yeah, for me, it was a really simple one. It was just around how employees just need to come more first. And she talked about a little bit about the 10 foundational principles of a customer-centric culture, but it all really came back down to that employee. And every customer experience starts with employee experience. So anyway, Annette says it better. Let's listen to the clip.
The reason we really wanted to have you on our podcast is because you argue that it's actually employees that come first, and you take us, just want to take us through your thinking there.
Yeah, of course. It's interesting because the saying really is that employees have to come more first. And that comes from a book that Hal Rosenbluth wrote called The Customer Comes Second. And in that, he talks about how really, if we're going to put the customer first, we need to put employees more first. And that's the thinking behind that, right? Employee experience drives customer experience. And so we've got to make sure that we take care of our employees. And when we take care of our employees, they'll take care of your customers.
It's so true. And so in this relationship between the employee experience, the customer experience, what do you think truly drives great employee experience and great employee engagement and satisfaction that then will trickle over to the customer experience?
Yeah, great question. So engagement and satisfaction are really the outcomes of a great experience. And so we have to first understand what the employee experience is to really know what ultimately results in the employees being engaged and satisfied. And it includes all the different ways that employees touch or interact with the company and vice versa, right? Probably even more importantly, the emotions, the feelings, and the perceptions that the employee has about not only the interactions and the capabilities, but just, all of that, right? And so the key factor really is caring for your employees, right? If leaders care about their employees, if leaders take the time to listen and act on what they hear and do the right thing for their people, that's where we're going to see employees that are satisfied, engaged, right? We need to make sure that we have leadership that cares. It falls on them. And if they set things on the wrong course, then the experience is going to be crappy and the outcomes will be as well.
I mean, it's so good. I am now also an official fangirl. So this podcast is also now, an Annette Franz fan pod. But I really like employee more first. It's also just something, it's almost like a saying you can remind yourself in your daily work of where am I putting my focus? Because we've got our customers, but you always have to remember the employee comes more first.
Yeah, and it's interesting that I think it has to be from the mindset of the employer to think that. Like, the employee, if the employee was to turn around and walk into work with a t-shirt that says employee more first, it's a very different stance in the whole saying, right? It's so it definitely has to be an employer driven motto, I think.
Yeah, but can you imagine how great an employee would look in that tee?
Yeah,
I'm feeling this branded merch.
It's like really entitled though. But maybe
Yeah,
we
this
should
is
get
this is no recommendations on swag.
well, maybe our boost swag. That's what it starts with next year.
Employee more first.
Yeah, just the employee more first. Yeah, /boost.
Wow.
Nice. Well, Laura, I think we got one more clip, right?
We've got one more. Now, this is someone that really spoke to me. I really enjoyed recording this episode with her. And I think you'll also see a common theme in my clips that I chose. So this one's from Yummy Pen.
Leaders have their own stuff, Leaders have their own families. You look at our leaders all over the world, and I know they get a hammering and a smashing, and that's because they decided to stand up in the arena and do the work. But all of us have a thought and an opinion. So I want to acknowledge that. Is it there? Because when I hear accommodate, I also hear responsible. And I'm not suggesting I'm right. This is just my thought process. I want to make it clear that they cannot, nor should they be responsible. They can care. I think accommodate, just so I can define it, is to create the space. And I know we use this a lot in the personal development. And creating the space is if someone wants to speak to you or for you to go and check out and know that even though it's taking up, I don't know, part of a meeting where you need to discuss the progress of a project, that you create the space for your particular employee to share what's going on. My family's breaking down, or I lost someone, or I don't think this is the job for me anymore. That for me is accommodating. It's creating the space. But I don't believe the responsibility should be with the leader. I used to call myself a coach, and I've now trying to move away from that to more of a thought leader, transformation thought leader. I think, and the idea is that I'm going to give you a perspective, but I also like to give people the space to just speak out. Most of the time, I don't need to say a word. They just needed the space to know they will not be judged and they will be listened to and they figure it out themselves. We don't want leaders to disarm or disable people to be part of their own growth. We want to just create it. So I think accommodate I'm comfortable with, but not responsibility. I want to make the difference.
Nice.
All right. So I picked another clip that is about #space. So again, this idea of creating space. And I think that Yemi just said it so poignantly of the difference between accommodating and like this idea of taking hardcore responsibility for someone else's space and emotions versus just caring and maybe just acknowledging and making that fine line distinction.
Yeah, I love that too. I think that's really good. And I don't know if you've been following along with her content on LinkedIn, but it's just power punch after power punch every single
Oh my gosh, she's amazing.
Amazing. Laura, that's a great clip. And mate, it's so good to see you again.
Likewise. And I wonder what everyone else's key takeaways are.
I was
from
thinking,
Boost.
saying, I think what we should do is get our audience, if we can, to go to YouTube and find this episode and comment in the comments on YouTube, because you can't really comment on Spotify and things like that. So yeah, let us know, and maybe we could do audience voted best podcast.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Your key employee performance and
Nice.
employee experience takeaway from season 1.
Yeah, I like it. Now, last couple of things for season 1. We had 2 truths and a lie, if you remember.
Dun dun dun.
And because we didn't always record things in sequential order, I think we got a little bit lost as to who won and who didn't, because we were going to crown somebody at the end of the season who's the overall winner. So I've gone back and listened to how many wins and losses there were.
Oh no. Unless I won, I actually am not interested in hearing this.
Well, Laura, you did win.
I'm very interested in hearing this. Wow.
You
No
chalked it
way.
up. Yeah, you chalked it up. Yeah, you beat me by 1 across the season, so it was a pretty tight race, but well done.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I am proud to wear the season 1 crown of Two Truths
Yeah.
and a Lie.
So there now has to be a season 2 so that I can come back and get revenge. I mean, compete again.
You gotta steal this crown from me, but I'm wearing it proud.
So there will be a season 2, and we are going to dial up the creativity. We've got some new segments for you, and it's going to be a blast. But this podcast has been, in my opinion, a huge success. We were voted in top 12 employee engagement podcasts this year. So that was a huge, huge out of the blue accolade. So thank you so
Totally.
much for listening, for voting, for doing all the things that you do as an audience. And we can't wait to see you next year.
Yes, thank you so much. I really enjoyed, sharing all of our learnings with everyone, and can't wait to see what everyone else thought of season 1 too.
We thought we'd finish this podcast with something a little fun for those who did stick around at the end of each episode for the stuff that didn't make the cutting room floor. I thought I'd dig up a few of our bloopers and play those in our reels. Laura, till next time.
Till next time. What is
Hooroo.
the Aussie goodbye? All right, of course.
Yeah.
Hooroo.
Hooroo.
Hooroo, y'all.
See y'all. Catch y'all next time. Well, lucky you. You've stuck around for the encore. Here are the fun moments that didn't make the main stage cut. I'm fully having a cramp.
I was like, did your dog bite you under the table? What happened?
Far out. That was bad. That was bad. Yeah. I just got this really bad cramp down in my leg.
Oh,
That's a sign of overexertion. Yeah. And you're doing your marathon soon, so I'm sure you'll be feeling it too.
Oh yeah, I was like reading about ice baths earlier today. So I'm like, oh gosh, I gotta prepare for that.
Yes. Get yourself an ice bath. That's all. This is Boost. Boost? My God, what is wrong with me? It's too early.